BGT said, because I live near Manchester, so they do auditions at the Lowry Theatre, which is 20 minutes down the road from me. And they said, obviously, you want to audition at the Lowry? And I said, no. I said, if I'm auditioning, I'm coming to London, I'm going to do the Palladium. Even if I get buzzed off, you know, at least I can say I've been on the Palladium stage.
How has your life changed since the show?
Right. How's my life changed since? Well, it's as weird as everybody else's, I guess, with all the, you know, all the lockdown and everything like that happening. Having not won BGT before, I don't know what would normally be happening if it wasn't in lockdown, if you know what I mean. I've got a few friends that have been through the process, and actually a friend of mine won America's Got Talent a couple of years ago, Paul Zerdin. So I'd sort of spoken to people about the experience, which was one of the things that made me want to do it, because everybody said it was such a positive experience. But I think since it happened, I mean, work's been crazy, but it's been great because I've got my little studio here that I've been working from and writing songs and doing performances. I've got the sort of virtual setup, which, you know, was like all my friends. This was new to us sort of 6 months ago when we sort of started doing online stuff. And I mean, there's no substitute for a live audience. Even the BGT shows, when it was just that virtual wall, you know, it looked very impressive, but there's no substitute for having a live theatre audience there. You know, it's always tough when you don't get that immediate response from an audience. But no, I'm definitely keeping busy, and on top of all that stuff, I've still got dogs to walk and kids to take to school and all that jazz. So yeah, it's all good.
So you said that you didn't believe you could win. Was that like for definite? Was there a small hope that you thought you could win, or was it going in it like, no, I don't think this is going to happen, but I'll try anyway?
To be honest, I didn't treat the whole thing like a competition, because I was writing original songs. I mean, the first song I wrote, literally I wrote it because I wanted to perform at the Palladium. I wanted to walk onto that Palladium stage and perform, because it's such an iconic theatre. And I never knew if I'd get another opportunity. So when BGT said, because I live near Manchester, so they do auditions at the Lowry Theatre, which is 20 minutes down the road from me. And they said, obviously, you want to audition at the Lowry? And I said, no. I said, if I'm auditioning, I'm coming to London, I'm going to do the Palladium. Even if I get buzzed off, you know, at least I can say I've been on the Palladium stage. So that's where I didn't audition with the intention of winning a competition. I just auditioned because I wanted to be at the Palladium. And then the buzzer got me through to the semis. And even then, I mean, I think because I was writing original stuff, I couldn't sit down with a blank piece of paper and write a song with the intention of winning a competition. I'd end up writing a very different song, and I don't think it would be for my heart. It would just be writing a song for the wrong reasons. If I write something, I have to write it because of the subject to the song. You know, it has to be for my semi-finals. It was about the tribute to my mum and dad, and passing that on to me, and me passing it on to my kids. So I really didn't write it thinking, you know, this is going to win. This is a winning song. I wrote it thinking I've written a good song, and the song will stand alone, and it'll. And I think maybe that helped with my nerves as well. I mean, even backstage with all the other, even at the finals, I was chatting with the other performers, and we didn't feel like we were competing against each other. We felt like we were part of a variety show, you know, a big variety show, and there was a lovely feeling of camaraderie and friendship backstage. I don't think any of us really felt that we were competing with each other. Weirdly, I don't know. I can't speak for them, but yeah, it didn't feel like a competition. So I wasn't sort of thinking I'm going to win. I must win. Even when I was standing there on stage at the end, it was me and Sign Along With Us. And I remember thinking, well, if I come second, that's okay. That's a lot further than I ever thought I was going to get. And also to come second to Sign Along With Us. I mean, such an amazing group of kids. And what Jade has done with those kids, you know, amazing girl that we got to know each other quite well during the show. And she's just a really lovely girl. So I thought, you know, second place is fine. So obviously the country's going to be behind these kids. It's amazing. It's like, so yeah, even then I wasn't really prepared for it. And that gap that when you're watching the show and you hear Ant and Dec say the winner of Britain's Got Talent 2020 is, and then it's probably about 7 seconds when you're watching it. When you're standing up there, it may as well be 7 days. I mean, it is the longest time. And I was hyperventilating a bit. I was feeling a bit faint. Ant and Dec had said to me before, what happens what are you going to do if you win? I said, I'll probably pass out. I'll probably be the first person ever on Britain's Got Talent just to face plant on the stage, sort of joking, you know. And then I'm stood there going, oh God, this could actually be a real thing. I'm actually feeling a bit dizzy. So yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about it. I mean, in the back of my mind, I made a joke to a friend of mine when lockdown happened, and they said, you know, how are you coping and work, whatever. And I said, well, we had a few savings, but not a lot. I mean, you know, nobody puts money aside for a rainy year. So the savings went pretty quick, and then into the overdraft. And I jokingly said, my entire financial future depends on me winning Britain's Got Talent. And, we laughed, and it was like, but that's sort of where it was. I mean, I would be working in Tesco's now. I'd be an Amazon delivery driver, because I wouldn't be able to earn enough money to pay the mortgage and pay the bills doing what I do. So Britain's Got Talent absolutely, was a lifeline.
What did it feel like to almost get past the first hurdle and the golden buzzer? Like when that was pressed, how did that feel?
It was amazing. I had no idea. It was sort of varying degrees of being. That whole day was escalating degrees of being overwhelmed. It was to be at the Palladium was incredible. As I say, that I've watched all the shows there with my dad growing up. Charlie Chaplin performed on that stage. Laurel and Hardy, Morecambe and Wise, all my heroes that I grew up watching had performed on that stage. So to be in that theatre was amazing. And then I was slightly nervous because it was an original song. It wasn't that I wasn't going out there and doing a comedy routine that I'd done 100 times. This was a brand new song written. So I didn't really know how it was going to be received. So when every joke that I sung got a huge response from the audience and the judges, and I kept catching their eyes. So I'm sat there watching that, sort of going, this is going so much better than I expected. This is incredible. And then at the end, everybody stood up, including the judges. So now I'm stood there on the Palladium stage with a standing ovation thinking this. And then my son runs up. One of the producers had gone to my kids and said, do you want to run up and give your dad a hug? And my youngest son had a slight panic attack and just suddenly was a bit overwhelmed and just went, no. And my eldest son ripped his mic off and said, which is so unlike him. I mean, I'm going. So he ran up. So I see my son running up, and you can actually see me in the show say, what are you doing? I didn't even, because he wouldn't do that spontaneously, So he ran up on stage. And so now I've got all the chat with the judges while my son's standing there, and they're all saying these really lovely things. And that was a bit emotional. And then my son started shouting, you've done it, you've done it, you've done it. Because he could see Ant and Dec coming out, and I hadn't seen them walking out to the stage. And when I first see them coming out, my first thought was something's gone wrong. Because that's what they do. All the stuff that you don't see on camera. If there's a delay with another act, or there's something goes wrong, a light falls over or something, they stop and Ant and Dec come out and just chat to the audience while they fix whatever's gone wrong. So my first thought was, oh God, what's gone wrong? And then you've got this long time for if one of the judges hits the golden buzzer, they just lean over and hit it because it's on their desk. But with Ant and Dec, they've got to come right across it's a big stage, right across the stage, down the steps at the other side, back to the judge's desk, up to the judge's desk. And so you've got a good, sort of 30, 40 seconds to stand there thinking, oh my God. And it gradually dawns on you, my son's going nuts next to me. And then I think the moment when I realized you just saw me do that, because I couldn't quite believe. Also the statistics backstage, they interview a lot backstage, all those clips you see where the people are interviewed on sitting on boxes and stuff, that all happens during the day. And one of the interviewers said, how would you feel if you got a golden buzzer? And I hadn't even thought about it. I said, oh my God, well, yeah, amazing. I said, but I don't think it's going to happen because I was the last act performing on the last day of auditions in London. So they'd been there for 4 days, and they'd had auditions every afternoon and every evening. And I was the last act on the last evening. And then they were coming to Manchester, and they had another 2 weeks auditions in Manchester. And there was only, I think, David Williams and Ant and Dec's golden buzzer. Sorry, got itchy nose. The other 3 judges had used their buzzers. So I said, well, just logistically, they've got all these auditions in Manchester, so they're going to want to save a couple of golden buzzers for Manchester, And then I started thinking about it and went, well, obviously, so there was no pressure. There's no way I'm going to get a golden buzzer. So I really wasn't prepared for it. But yeah, very nice. My new best friends, Ant and Dec.